Without further ado, I'd love to introduce Yousef Tuqan.
If only I can get this to work. This is the clicker?
Is it on?
That's a good question. On the left. Oh, there you go. There we go. The hardest thing you can do to an Arab is say shorten a speech. So I'm happy to let you know, this is actually part of a 35-minute long presentation. So if you go to tinyurl.com/ArabsBeLike, you can watch the 35-minute presentation. There's a lot of video, there's a lot of content. It's pretty good fun. So I've got 7 minutes to talk a lot about the Arab digital generation. So my name is Yousef Tuqan, and I am a typical Arab. I was born in England. So I have a funny, my father's Palestinian, my mother's Lebanese, I used to be married to an Australian, and Dubai has been home for 19 years. But before that, I grew up in Kuwait, I lived in Jordan, and I went to college in the States. Pretty standard, right? So the world has changed a lot. If we go back in time, not far, but back to when I was an 18-year-old, not far from the age of many of you, living in Amman, Jordan, my media universe consisted of 2 very bad government-owned TV stations, 1 government-owned radio station, 1 government-owned newspaper, and on a good humid day, we could watch Israel TV as well. That was the entire media universe that 18-year-old Yousef had in Amman, Jordan. That world would be unrecognizable to an 18-year-old in Amman today. If you think about the world that we would live in today as a teenager, we're all walking around with a piece of glass and metal in our hand that typically weighs less than 200 grams. And with this piece of glass, you can access every book ever written, every article ever written, every film ever made, every piece of music ever performed. Hey, you can even find a girlfriend with these days. It's pretty amazing. So that is the world that the Arab digital generation lives in today. And our generation is defined by 3 things. We're connected, they're young, and they're confused. So let's talk about being connected. Because if you look beyond the Arab Spring, social media has had an incredible impact in terms of our society today. Let's look at some of the numbers. If you look at Twitter today in Saudi Arabia, it has 600% year-on-year growth. It is it's the highest Twitter penetration of any country in the world. This is a country with also some of the strongest internet censorship of any country in the world. Let's look at Facebook. 80 million users in MENA, 90% of them on mobile. 50 million of them access Facebook every single day, and we have double the average video consumption of any part of the world. If we look at YouTube, the numbers are incredible. 510 million video views a day. 26 million hours of YouTube are watched every day. And in Saudi Arabia, we have the highest per capita internet usage of any country in the world when it comes to YouTube. 7 videos a day. Instagram is the same. 1.1 million daily active users in the UAE, a country of 5 million people. 6.1 million daily active users in Saudi Arabia. And if we look at tiny little Bahrain, 1.1 million monthly active users a day. It's not that big, ladies and gentlemen, I've been there. And they're also really young. If you look at the Middle Eastern audience today, 68% of MENA is under the age of 34. 55% of Saudis are under the age of 25. In Egypt, that number is 75%. And this is the incredible contradiction, because you look at those numbers of how we watch YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. We have a generation of people who are growing up today and they're being raised on social media. But the world we see on those screens is so different from the world that's outside on our streets in terms of how conservative we are, in terms of our values, and in terms of where the world is going. So it's no surprise that we're also really confused. If you look at the results of the Arab Youth Survey that's conducted every year, 3,500 Arabs aged between 18 to 25 are interviewed about their attitudes and values. And let's look at some of the key numbers. This one says, which of the following is closest to your view? In 2011, in the blue bit, people said traditional values are outdated and belong in the past. I am keen to embrace modern values. But 83% disagreed and said traditional values mean a lot to me and ought to be preserved for generations to come. And look at how that's changing. Look at the erosion of the view of young Arab people today about the importance of traditional values versus modern values. Today we are almost split 50-50 between the belief that traditional values are outdated and the desire to maintain traditional values into the future. This is how we're confused today. And if you look at our language, if there's anything that 392 million Arabs can agree on, it's the value and the beauty of our language. But even that is under threat, because you interview the same group of young men and Arab women, and here's what they say. Arabic is central to my national identity, 73% agree. Arabic is losing its value, 47% agree. Knowing English can advance one's career more than Arabic, 63% agree. So it's an incredibly challenging time for us as young Arabs, because what we see in the media and what we watch on traditional bad government-owned TV versus what we see on social media are so different today. And so what's happened with this explosion of social media is a real change and the rise of a new breed of celebrities when it comes to social media. And when I talk about celebrities, I don't mean celebrities like Pharrell. I mean, he's a celebrity, right? I mean, he's got 7 million followers on Twitter. That's a pretty big deal. But let me introduce you to Sheikh Dr. Muhammad Al-Arifi, a conservative Islamic scholar from Saudi Arabia who has 13 million followers on Twitter. I guarantee you he does not have the press office and PR that Pharrell does. But what's really amazing is this is a man who is taking the most traditional, the most conservative of things and bringing them to the most modern and kind of new age of mediums. And there's an audience out there that's hungry for desiring this sort of content and this sort of connection with him. But what's really interesting about him, so this guy has 5 million more followers than Pharrell and 6 million more than Pope Francis. So this is the amazing thing, and probably no group is more emblematic of this new generation of Arab social media celebrity than the guys from U-Turn. This is a Saudi media and entertainment company that's created an audience of 24 million people who are opting into their content every month to watch videos, to watch entertainment, because they bridge the gap between the desire of young Arabs and young Saudis who want to watch content that's created by them and for them, that speaks their language and that reaches out to them. We don't just want to import stuff from overseas, and we don't want bad Arabic government television. So this is sort of what their content looks like, and I hope the sound levels work.
أعزائي المشاهدين، ممكن نمو صراحة مش لازم بقى. أنت ليه اخترت جو؟ هذه بس عشان يعني حاجة موسم رائع حطيت كلوز اب حطيت على شعري كمان.
This is a very small slice of these things. This is a comedian called Badr Saleh, and he has a show called Ish Ali. And if you look at the size of the audience today, the numbers will stagger you. If you look at YouTube subscribers for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, which is pretty popular, he has 2.4 million followers. Saturday Night Live, 1.3 million. Ish Ali has 2.6 million followers. This guy has more fans than John Oliver on YouTube. So this is the amazing thing, is it's given rise to a new generation of entertainers that are really changing the world. But it's not just about advertising close-up whitening strips for your teeth. It's also about using media and social media to effect real change in Arab society. And here's a great example from last year.
Lebanon, 2014. A wave of domestic violence is spreading across the country, leaving the whole society in shock. Till this day, there is no law in Lebanon to protect women from family violence. KEFA, a leading NGO for women's rights, had drafted a law, but it was ignored by members of parliament for years. KEFA contacts us to seek our help. The parliament is holding a session 3 days from now, and we must make the law one of their top priorities and ideally pass it with amendments. So let's threaten our MPs with the one weapon that could actually hurt them. Our votes. The equation is simple. Vote for the law, we'll vote for you. Let's turn our thumbs red, the color of blood shed by battered women. Let's invite the women and the men of this country to post their red thumbs on social media. Let's use our campaign to inspire a popular movement. D-Day. MPs and media inside the parliament. We are outside on the street, mounting pressure. Everyone, including the mass media, is prohibited from entering the session. But we are able to enter the parliament through social media and reach each and every MP on their mobile while they are voting, leading the president of the parliament to react. For us, nothing can stand in our way. 4 hours later, the law is passed. For KEFA, this fight must continue. For all women, this is a giant step to eradicate domestic violence. And the results already being felt across the nation. In a country where political accountability is non-existent, the civil society was able to force the legislators to finally do their job.
It's incredible, and it's more of what we need. So like I said, I'm a typical Arab, and I've seen some things in my life. I've woken up at night with Israeli soldiers banging on my grandmother's door, trying to get inside to round up the men. I've seen Iraqi soldiers put a gun to my mother's head when we were in Kuwait. We've seen some things, right? But the amazing thing about us is our resilience and our relentlessness. Like we just don't know when we're beat, right? And if we look at the news today, I don't think we've ever seen a worse time in our lifetime of what it's like to be an Arab today. But in reality, what's really nice, I think there's one word that I think every single one of us has said today, and that word is hope. I'm really excited, and I really believe in the power of the internet and the power of technology to transform this Middle East. And we've seen it with things like Idrak, we've seen it with the Arab Spring. And because technology doesn't know borders, it doesn't know religion, it doesn't know nationalities, and we have an Arab digital generation that's young, and we're connected, and we're ambitious, and we're relentless, and we're really going to change the world in ways that we can't even imagine yet. So that's my hope. I hope you feel it too. Really hope you like my talk, and thank you very much. Thank you.